Should you hire a property manager or self-manage your rental property? All right, guys, we're going to talk all about self-managing or hiring a property manager. But first, I've got to say thank you for this question. If you've got a question you'd like to have me answer, type it in the comments below and I'll create a video like this for you and my other amazing YouTube subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. So let's talk about this. I think there's a few variables that you need to look at. Number one is geography. How close are you to the property? If you're in California and the property's in Georgia, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to self-manage that property. Not impossible, let me tell you. I've got a mentor of mine that was managing properties from Florida, and the properties were in Colorado. I think that can work, but you've got to be committed to spending some time where it is. So for example, if you're living in California and managing in Georgia, you've got to make sure that you're spending some time there, hiring the right tenants. And that's what I'd say. This whole management thing comes down to hiring the right tenants. And my philosophy is actually quite simple. So my philosophy is I self-manage my own properties. And the reason that I do that is I've really struggled for property managers to find alignment. You see, most property managers get paid to lease up the property, meaning find a tenant. That's typically 50% to a full month's rent. So for instance, $1,000, they're going to get anywhere from $500 to $1,000 each time they find a new tenant. Now, if that rent is $1,000 per month, the other thing that property managers make their money is they typically get paid a percentage, which could be like 8 to 15% of the rents. Let's just say it's 10%. Then this property manager, if the rent's $1,000 a month, is getting $100 a month that they're getting as a management fee. However, if you times up by 12, they're getting $1,200. But they make $1,000 when they lease up the property. So it's almost like they make more money if the property turns over, meaning finding new tenants every single month, rather than keeping tenants in there. And from my perspective, every single time there's the tenant turnover, it's expensive. Number one, I lose rent. So I go without rent for a month or two. Well, that cost me, maybe that cost me $500 per month, so that cost me $1,000 right there. Then I have to pay to lease up the property, which cost me another $1,000. Then I typically have to do some repairs to the property or some minor maintenance to the property because there's tenant turnover. Maybe I've got to carpet clean, or I've got to replace the carpets, or do some of those types of things that I otherwise wouldn't have needed to do. So all of a sudden I've got this turnover. Well, the problem is the property manager is incentivized, right? They're making more money if they get me a new tenant every single year, and I am spending a lot more money to fix the property up, go without rents, make my mortgage payment. I don't really want that. So I came up with a little strategy that was introduced to me by a mentor of mine that I really like. And the concept is rent your property for less than everybody else. Now, this may sound counterintuitive at the time, but the idea is if properties are rented for $1,000, I recommend, depending upon how hot the market is, you lease your property anywhere between $900 to $950. If it's a super hot market, go to $950. If it's not as hard of a market, go to $900. When I say hot market, it means it's really hard to find rental properties. And you want to list your property $50 to $100 less than everything else that's out there in similar condition. You don't want to rent yours $50 less than something that's just garbage, but you look at stuff that's similar condition and mark yours $50 to $100 less. Well, what does this do? Well, what it does is great tenants like good deals. And when a great tenant finds a good deal, they typically stay there forever. So here's the first thing. Number one, it is under rented. So I get a flood of people interested in renting the property. So first off, my turnover, the amount of time that it takes me to find a new tenant, is very, very low. As a matter of fact, if I have a tenant leaving, I'll show the property while they're moving out. They give me notice. They're showing the property to potential people. They're going through the property. I typically have the person moving out hands the keys to the person that's moving in the driveway, and I don't go a single day with having a vacancy. That's typically how this works. Why is this possible? Because I have so many people that are interested in renting my properties. Why is that possible? Because I'm renting the property for $50 to $100 less than what the market is, and it's a good deal for a great property, and so people are flooding to me. Well, that helps me solve tenant turnover issues. It helps me solve not having downtime issues. But the other thing it helps me do is it helps me find a great tenant. You see, if the property's $50 to $100 less, I'm getting a ton of rental applications. What happens when I get a ton of rental applications? I can be picky. See, one of the things that I put on my rental applications are, do you own a lawnmower? Because if you don't own a lawnmower, I can't rent to you. I don't want to rent to you. Another question I ask on my rental applications, do you own a toolbox? And do you know how to use it? If you don't have a toolbox and you don't know how to use it, you're not somebody I want to rent to. You see, I am not the Marriott. You don't pick up the phone and say your toilet's leaking and you call me. That's not how things work for me. You see, here's the ticket. I'm renting the property for $50 to $100 less. I can be picky as to who I put in there. One of the things I like to be picky is I like people that know how to do a few things. I don't want to have somebody that just expects to be able to call room service and have it delivered to fix any problems that may be happening to the property. I want them to be able to take their first stab at it. So what I've talked about here is my management philosophy is I have very little turnover. Number one, the tenant stays there for a very, very long time, because if I'm always $50 to $100 less than the market, I am raising rents as time goes on. But my average tenant stays in the property 5 years, which is exactly what I'd like. I'd like them to stay there 100 years, because turnover is expensive. But I'll raise my rents, but I'm going to keep it $50 to $100 less than the market, which is also awesome because I can tell the tenant, hey, I want to keep you here forever. I've looked at the marketplace. Here's what I can find. I want to give you $50 or $100 less than what's out there. You look around. If you can find a better property for less money, please let me know. And they do that. They can't find it. I give it to them for $50 to $100 less, and I'm saving so much money. I'm saving the expense of having tenant turnover. I'm saving the expense of having no one in the property and me having to pay the mortgage payment. I'm saving the expense of getting phone calls and management all the time because I'm renting to people that I'm able to select the people I want to rent to. I call it hiring the right tenant. You see, the philosophy for me is completely different than most landlords. Most landlords are like, let's just get them in, let's just get them in. I'm saying, oh, no. I want to get the right person in, and I would rather have the property sit vacant for years than put the wrong person into the property. If you think about the cost and the damage that somebody can do. See, my philosophy is when somebody comes in is I am giving them the keys to a $500,000 asset. Tell me why I should give them to you and what you're going to do to take care of my property. You see, I flip it on its head. It's not about me wanting them. It's about them selling to me why they should be the ones that I select. It's kind of like the Bachelorette, who's going to get the rose, and everybody's hoping that they're going to get it. And I've got multiple people I'm interviewing to make a decision as to who I think is going to take the best care of my property. See, guys, I don't know property managers that can do this. I don't know property managers that are invested well enough, and I don't know how to compensate property managers that can do this the way that we want to. Now, here's the other thing for managing the properties myself that makes it super simple is, number one, the tenant is responsible for taking care of minor repairs. If there's a repair that they're unable to, we don't want them to do anything they're not able to, but most phone calls you're getting are for stupid things. Most phone calls you're getting are because the toilet flap it came out and it just needs to get readjusted, or you're getting calls because of a simple leak where something just needs to be tightened. I mean, we're talking simple repairs is most of the things that happen on residential real estate. Now, if it's beyond that, then I have a handyman. I have an HVAC person, I have an electrician, I have a handyman, and they have all of those phone numbers, and they call them directly. They don't call me, they call them directly. And then I have a deductible. So when the electrician shows up there to fix something, the tenant pays them $50 as the deductible to have the electrician go out there. While the electrician's there, it takes pictures of the property, calls me, and gets my authorization to finish the work that's necessary on there. But you'd be surprised how often it's very little that's required to make something get fixed. So then my management is less. I'm keeping someone in there for 5 years. It's less than market, but I'm making more money because I'm not dealing with all the problems that are associated with traditional landlording. Now, guys, this is a great insight that I hope you're taking home, taking some notes. If you're liking this video, hit that thumbs up button. I really would appreciate it. So, in the end, I believe that if you are in closer proximity and you can put together a management strategy that works for you using some of these principles we've talked about, you're much better off self-managing. Because if you think about it, if you're paying a property manager 10% off the top, and we didn't even talk about some of the things property managers do to sneak in some fees. So they may have some transaction fees or a statement fee. You pay $5 if you want a mailed statement. But they also do some things which are having their repair guys do the repairs on the property. It concerns me a little bit. In some regards, it can work out really well, but they are marking it up, those services, and making some money on that. However, I also don't know the quality of this repair person. It may take him 5 hours to do a job that normally takes 2 hours, and I'm paying a premium rate for that, and the property manager is getting a benefit. Again, the property manager makes money when there's repairs. The more repairs, the more money they make. The more vacancy, the more money they make. It's just misalignment, and I don't know how to solve for that. I really don't, but I don't like the misalignment. I like it when I'm making more money, they're making more money. When in this situation, it feels like when I'm making less money, they're making more money, and that's never a win-lose situation there. I like win-wins, not win-lose. So those are some of the challenges that I see with property managers. Now, I'm not dogging on property managers here, guys. I'm just trying to give you the pros and cons with that. I've helped people find property managers, and sometimes we've found some property managers that have worked out okay. I just haven't had a great experience, mainly because of this, how much it costs, what it does. But if there's long proximity, it may be something that you should consider. Now, if you'd like to know if a property is a good rental property or not a great rental property, I have a rental property calculator. If you'll text me your email address, I will send it to you absolutely for free. You can text me at 435-294-0433.